Nick are with me. Broward County University and Dade County University.
College? Broward College?
Exactly, college, okay. I love it because the ending, the finale having to be taped is terrible. Taping all three.
I can see how that would be.
It was terrible. I've done many of the finales, gone out to Center State Theater for the finales. And it's just not.
No, it's like anticlimactic, right?
Lots of news today.
4, 3, 2.
Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 7 p.m. Thursday, March 25th, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
The world's first live daily queer evening news show, Out of the Closet and Into the Headlines on Q News Tonight.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ evening news show. Whatever happens, you're going to see it.
This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ community from across South Florida, America, and across the planet.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and let's welcome anchor Dr. Ty Hauser. He is an associate professor of English and Humanities at Broward College. Additionally, he teaches for extended periods of time at international colleges in China, India, Spain, and Bolivia. He also serves as our progressive college professor host on Happening Out Television Network's discussion and debate show, Gay Town Hall, live every Thursday night and tonight at 8 p.m. Good evening, Ty.
Hey, Al, I'm really excited about tonight's show. Power Infinity is our lead host. It's going to be great.
It's going to be fun. Next, let's welcome anchor Dr. Nick Metheny. Dr. Nick, we have dueling doctors here, by the way, tonight.
Yes, I feel like a rose between two thorns, or no, a cheek. Do you feel like a cheek, Nick?
Yeah, well, if your philosophy is broken, we can help you. That's
Did
about
I
it.
lose control of this show somehow? He is assistant professor at the University of Miami School of Nursing and Health Studies, as well as a registered nurse. His research focuses on preventing domestic violence and its negative health implications in LGBTQ populations globally. Good evening, Nick.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, tonight we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, March 25th. We begin by queering up business, and we've had a lot of heavy news for the week. So we're going to queer up business, and our headline is, this year's Cadbury Easter Bunny is Florida's Betty, and she is a frog. You don't hear that everywhere. It's that time of year again. Easter is not just about Jesus. Easter is also about the Easter Bunny and chocolate treats. So when the third annual Cadbury Bunny tryouts began, we got really excited. So the winner is now in, and for the first time ever, it's an Australian white tree frog, and her name is Betty, and she's our neighbor just up the road in Orlando. At Queer News Tonight, we love the diversity of this story, as Betty is the contest's first amphibian to take the title, as well as the smallest and the first female. Cadbury introduced Betty to the world today by embracing her diversity by saying, quote, "Betty knows what it's like to be different, and she'd like the chance to show everyone that our differences are what make us who we are, and they are something to be proud of," end quote. Beating out other worthy contenders from across the nation, Betty hops away with a cool $5,000 cash prize, plus the opportunity to star in the 2021 Cadbury Clucking Bunny commercial. Cadbury will also be donating $15,000 to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals in honor of the contest.
That $15,000 prize looks really, really appealing. I hope she doesn't croak before then.
Oh, Dude.
Lord.
Dude.
No, Betty seems like a good Judy.
Oh, all right. I just have to say, where in LGBT land would you hear an opening story about Betty the frog,
like
the
it.
Cadbury bunny
No,
for
it's great.
Easter? Case proven.
Next, we'll queer up entertainment. Drag Race Live rumor breaks queer Twitter and possibly the entire franchise. New rumors about a Drag Race US live series sparked waves of backlash against toxicity within the fan base and the franchise's lack of inclusivity. It seems to be true. RuPaul works hard, but the rumor mill works harder. Just this week, Queer News Tonight reported extensively on an All-Stars International cast. Now, Queer Twitter are moving to a reeling over a possible shakeup to the Drag Race US format, which gives fans the power to pick a winner. The Holy Tea Twitter page revealed a potential shakeup to the format that could change everything about Drag Race US. Their source claimed, quote, "Producers are discussing the idea of having the contest run live over a 14-week period. Each week, the contestants will compete in challenges, and on Friday night, a live show will see the public vote for who they want to see going forward. The bottom two will then lip sync, and Mama Ru will send a queen home," end quote. It is hoped the new format will give more control to the fans, and we think it is just the shakeup needed to keep the show fresh. It would also mean the winner will be announced live, eliminating the need for multiple endings to be filmed.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy this. I don't think RuPaul's going to give up any amount of control, right? Like, I feel like it just gives me flashbacks to American Idol back in like 2006, whenever you had to phone in and vote every week. I don't know if I like it either.
Well, you know, the first thing that I would say, having a little bit of experience with RuPaul's Drag Race, is I'm pretty sure Ru doesn't care what anyone thinks.
Exactly.
And second, the show is on fire all over the planet. There's so many implementations. The United States has to keep fresh, and this is an interesting way to do it. Now, whether it's successful or not, and likely it would be successful to go live and allow voter participation each week, the most important thing is when you come down to those last 4 or 5 contestants. As everyone knows, I've been to the finale multiples of times, you are in a situation where they have to film all 3 winning, because the chance of leak and revealing who actually wins is high. In fact, it happened in season 3, and it was revealed before the show even broadcast who had won the show. So this is a really clever way to prevent that. And I think it could propel many positive changes in the brand at RuPaul's Drag Race that we would actually like.
Yeah.
You know, the brand changes and the kind of freshening of the brand, I think, is important, because it'll give Al some way to talk about RuPaul for the next year and a half.
No, but I mean, also you have rumors and rumblings that, you know, there are some pretty racist fans of the RuPaul's Drag Race universe, and giving people more of a say than they used to have could backfire. So
Maybe.
All right, let's queer up health. Human penises are shrinking because of pollution, scientists confirm. According to leading epidemiologist and environmental scientist Dr. Shanna Swan, penises around the world are shrinking, and pollution is to blame. Humanity is facing an existential crisis, she explains in her new book, Countdown: How Our Modern World is Threatening Sperm Counts and Altering Male and Female Reproductive Development, and imperiling the future of the human race. It all comes down to phthalates, a chemical used in manufacturing plastics that impacts the hormone-producing endocrine system. Because of this pollution, Dr. Swan says, fertility rates are rapidly falling, and a growing number of babies are being born with smaller penises. Dr. Swan said, quote, "Our chemicals in our environment and unhealthy lifestyle practices in our modern world are disrupting our hormonal balance, causing various degrees of reproductive havoc," end quote. Dr. Swan, who is a professor in environmental medicine and public health at the Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City, based her work on a series of peer-reviewed studies. She began her research by examining phthalate syndrome in rats whose fetuses were exposed to the chemical. She then discovered that rat babies were more likely to be born with shrunken genitals, and the same was true in male human babies too.
Well, you know, first up, as I was looking at the image embracement of the story, Dr. Nick, while you were talking, I kept thinking, oh, we're going to see something really, really interesting. We saw pollution.
I mean, when you think about saying something really interesting in the penis story.
I thought. It's interesting. I will resist my urge of trying to go back to being a 14-year-old teenage boy in commenting on the story. It's very interesting to me. We get lots of Trumpsters and Republicans denying climate change and the science of what's going on in our climate. Perhaps this story will finally shake them out of the position that they have been living in.
Yeah.
The idea that it is plastic that's doing it too, I think, is really important, because we've been using plastic for so many decades now and not really paying attention to where it's going and what it's doing. And there are these small little particles of plastic out there in almost everything.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true.
All right, well, next let's queer up gay culture. The Utah governor signs a divisive measure to require porn filters. Utah is a step closer tonight to requiring all cell phones and tablets sold in the conservative state to automatically block pornography after the Republican governor signed legislation on Tuesday that critics call a significant intrusion of free speech. Governor Spencer Cox has said the measure would, by the way, Republican, would send an important message about preventing children from accessing explicit online content. The proposal is the latest move in Utah's legislative campaign to curb the availability of porn. The measure won't go into effect unless 5 other states enact similar laws, a provision that was added to address concerns that it would be difficult to implement. The American Civil Liberties Union of Utah said constitutionality of the bill was not adequately considered and that it is very likely going to be argued in court.
So, Governor Cox, penises are shrinking. Porn filters. And see, when I first read the story, I thought it meant like I could only get porn on my phone. Now I don't know what to think of it.
After you're done with it. No, I'm with you. I think Spencer Cox sounds like a porn star, so I think there's probably something there.
Well, first off, Utah is Mormon. Let's unpack this story. In broadest terms, they're trying to hide the approach of controlling pornography and using it in terms of underage children. There are laws against that already on the books. There was not a need to infringe in free speech for adults that are not minor children. So first off, the argument's not going to stand up, and that's what the ACLU is saying that the courts very likely are going to say. Second, the state of Utah and this governor knows that that's the case, because who writes legislative law that says we won't implement it until 5 other states also implement it so we can collectively fight the legal First Amendment free speech battle that is coming? It's an indication that they know this is a gigantic overreach. Whether you like porn or not like porn, it's really irrelevant. It is a massive violation of First Amendment rights, and you can't cover it in terms of underage children because those laws already exist and they stand up in the courts.
Yeah, if the right is worried about a nanny state, that's exactly what this is. So
yeah, it just seems to me that they can't have it both ways, right? You can't yell about free speech and being able to say whatever lie and misinformation you like, and then also enact laws like this.
Right. Next, we will queer up religion. The Pope appoints gay man who survived sexual abuse by a priest to Vatican panel. Pope Francis has appointed Juan Carlos Cruz, a gay Chilean actor who survived sexual abuse by a priest, to a Vatican panel. Cruz has been appointed as a member of the Pontifical Council for the Protection of Minors, which was set up by the Pope in 2013 in response to the Catholic Church's sexual abuse scandal. The panel has had clerical child sex abuse survivors appointed to it since its creation, but Cruz is the first openly gay person and first person from Latin America to be appointed. Cruz said, quote, "I'm very honored. I'm a survivor. I'm gay. I'm a lay person. I'm Catholic. It just renews my commitment to change things from within, for survivors, for every person who feels disenfranchised from the church," end quote.
I think this is a really positive first step. I think there's something to be said for changing things from within. So I applaud it.
I have deep religious faith, so I can kind of get away with saying this. Oh, you crazy Catholics, you. First, there's a sex scandal in the church from priests. Then a new pope comes in, and we have hope from Chile that he is going to have a more progressive view on LGBT, and we go a number of years where we think that. Then in the last 3 weeks, the council and the pope come out and say, nope, LGBT and homosexual relationships, especially marriages, are a sin, and we are not going to recognize them. And then 3 weeks later, he turns around and appoints somebody in this same area of focus who is gay. They're inconsistent at best, and I'm hoping that the Pope and the Church move into the 20th century. Now, I won't even ask for the 21st. If you move into the 20th century, because there's millions of LGBTQ people and their lives that you are messing with, and it should improve.
Agreed. Let's queer up politics. Dr. Rachel Levine makes transgender history in confirmation as Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services. Dr. Rachel Levine was confirmed as President Joe Biden's Assistant Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services yesterday, marking the first time in U.S. history that a transgender person has been confirmed to a cabinet-level position by a Senate vote of 52 to 48. Liz Seaton, Policy Director of National LGBTQ Task Force Action Fund, says, quote, Dr. Levine's confirmation by the Senate today sends a strong message, especially to the LGBTQ people of this country. Please step forward to serve. Your nation needs you and your expertise, end quote. Levine, who departs her role as Pennsylvania's Secretary of Health, secured confirmations from a Republican-controlled Senate in her home state 3 different times. In 2015, Pennsylvania lawmakers from both parties unanimously approved her appointment as Pennsylvania Physician General. In a statement from President Joe Biden, he praised Levine as a, quote, historic and deeply qualified choice, end quote.
You know, it's sad to me because this news is really historic. It is. First off, for LGBTQ, to have a trans person be confirmed at a cabinet level position is obviously historic. So along with Pete Buttigieg, we have a lot of history that has taken place in the last 6 weeks. But damn it, we got 2 Republican votes. 2. This passed 52 to 48. Yeah. Levine she came from a state that is Republican controlled and was easily confirmed 3 separate times by the Republicans in Pennsylvania, and then was unanimously confirmed as Physician General in Pennsylvania. And today, the best we can do is get 2 votes of the Republicans in the Senate. It's a reflection of where America is going, and it is a reflection of what Donald Trump has done to the political process in America. It was easy before.
My favorite part about this story is that she's from Pennsylvania, my home Commonwealth. Go PA.
No, it's great.
It is. All right, well, let's queer up South Florida. Bring a friend, buy one, get one free to the Florida AIDS Walk and Music Festival. Queer News Tonight reminds you that the critically important Florida AIDS Walk and Music Festival that is sponsored by AHF is coming. The Florida AIDS Walk and Music Festival at South Beach Park on Fort Lauderdale Beach will be Saturday, April 24th. We are happy to report a new Grab a Friend incentive. From now until March 30th, you can take advantage of their buy one, get one free registration offer to walk or participate in the music festival on the beach. You register online today and use the code, of course, FRIEND. The event is supported by one of America's most important supporters of the LGBTQ community, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, AHF. When you donate to your favorite walker, which could be you, AHF will match your donation dollar for dollar. The walk starts at 10 a.m. and includes a beach festival that is an amazing entertainment lineup, including a concert by Little Kim, Trina, and DJ Alex. Go to the Florida AIDS Walk website for more information and the BOGO ticket registration offer.
Al, Lil Kim. Lil Kim. There's no T there. Lil.
Lil or little. I am fully vaccinated, so I will be there.
Oh, nice.
It's a great event, and I always, first and foremost, thank AHF. They contribute to HIV issues, education issues for HIV, and broadly to the LGBTQ community in dramatic ways. They're matching every single donation to the Florida AIDS Walk and Music Festival. It is quite a gigantic offer from the community.
Great. Now we'll queer up the USA. Anti-LGBTQ Family Research Council, gay people are unnatural, against nature, and deserve death. Anti-LGBTQ organization, the Family Research Council, has told its followers that gay people are unnatural and directed them to a Bible passage that suggests that they, quote, deserve death, end quote. A release issued through Watchmen on the Wall, FRC's official ministry to pastors, summarizes a publication from last year called Biblical Principles for Human Sexuality, written by David Clausen, FRC's Director of Christian Ethics and Biblical Worldview. FRC, a recognized hate group, said, quote, "The Apostle Paul explains that humanity has rejected God, exchanging truth about him and the things he created for a lie. While describing the sinful exchanges men and women have made, Paul uses the term paraphesion, which means unnatural or against nature. Homosexuality is unnatural because it is a departure from God's design for sexuality. According to the passage, homosexuality is also a consequence of humanity suppressing God's truth and refusing to honor him," end quote. FRC points its followers to biblical passages Leviticus 20:13 and Romans 1:18-32 in the Bible, claiming that gay people deserve death and should be put to death.
Ugh. Honestly, biblical principles for human sexuality sounds like the worst erotic fan fiction ever. Also, like, I don't know, we've been hearing this stuff for thousands of years, so like, why is this news? And it just seems like we shouldn't be listening to whatever a Southern Poverty Law Center hate group says anyway.
Yeah, for me, that's the soundbite. You know it's not going to be a good day for you when you wake up and you find out that you're on Southern Poverty Law Center's hate group list. Yeah. This group is. And by the way, we reported the largest LGBT acceptance study in history has just been completed, and it specifically focuses on religions and their individual approaches to the LGBTQ community. Surprise of surprise. Regardless of the religious category, Jewish, Catholic, Protestant, etc., it all sat in the 70 percentiles of acceptance, between 71 and 79%. Even the most conservative evangelical religious organizations in America were at 67% acceptance. So the FRC is a minority, heavily conservative minority group that only counts Trumpsters and Fox News. So that's all we're talking about.
It's also important to point out there, though, that any linguist who is honest about the history of the language that's being used in all of those chapters will know that in Leviticus, they actually made up a word that didn't exist to try and express something totally different from what it's been translated to. And we also know that most of those passages don't actually address homosexuality explicitly. They talk about absolute other things, but when it was translated, they had an agenda, and it was translated by men who wanted to control
Whenever
sexuality.
You're in agreement with Tucker Carlson, you probably know you're on the wrong.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Ugh. All right, well, in more uplifting news, let's queer up the world. Gay mayor of Canada's capital slurred outside his home so his neighbors would see. This week, a homophobic slur was found spray painted on the street outside Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson's home, and it's making national headlines across Canada. Watson said, quote, "It was a little disconcerting. You go home and you want to feel safe and comfortable in your own home, but look, I'm not the only one. There's unfortunately such an increase in hate crimes. We've seen it in Ottawa and we've seen it around the world," end quote. Watson, 59, is the first out gay mayor of the Canadian capital. He was elected in 2010 and then came out in an open letter in 2019. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau commented on the hate crime, saying, quote, "I'm appalled by the news that homophobic graffiti was written outside Mayor Jim Watson's home. There is no place for this ignorant and inexcusable hate in the city or anywhere in our country. Jim, know that Canadians across the country are standing with you," end quote. Mayor Watson, everyone at Queer News Tonight also wish you to know that the American LGBTQ community stands with you in solidarity, for you, and with Canada's beautiful capital city.
You know, it's funny to me, if this was a news report that we were doing tonight in Charleston, South Carolina, or Atlanta, or even Palm Springs, I'd go, okay, well, it's bad and I understand it. But this is Canada. This is Ottawa. Something very, very strange. And why I think Prime Minister Trudeau came out so quickly and so strongly of the rejection of this, to tell the Canadian people, we're not standing for this in any way. We don't care what the last 4 years brought in the United States with their leadership. It's not the leadership in Canada.
Yeah, I was equally surprised that it was in Canada, Alan. It's great now that I think we're getting back on a track where if something like this were to happen, we would see support from the national government as opposed to the last 4 years where we definitely wouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Canada before moving to Miami, and it is a lot more nuanced than we think from down here. So unfortunately, these things happen all over the world, including in places like Canada.
And by nuance, do you mean white?
Different shades of beige.
Well, that is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies. Queer News Tonight has been LGBTQ America's most important news source on the pandemic, as we have reported on coronavirus on every news broadcast since January 6th, 2020.
Tonight, we report the devastating effect coronavirus has had on the American and worldwide LGBTQ community in total cases and in deaths. We also provide hope for a new light at the end of this long tunnel. As of tonight, more than 2,149,000 LGBTQ Americans have contracted COVID-19, and more than 39,090 LGBTQ Americans have died from coronavirus. As of today, more than 130,473,000 doses of one of the 3 coronavirus vaccines have been administered in the U.S.
That is our COVID-19 news for tonight. Next, we report that Happening Out Television Network is passionate about our support for the LGBTQ community. An example is Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale.
We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine and supporting that partnership. The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 people watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's totally live. We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral is My Queer Church. Check it out.
I'm Taisha Best, your queer community servant, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale, for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible.
And finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ allied partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
Well, next up, Queer News Tonight is proud to host our Thursday night business professional segment we call NetWerQ with a Q, where we highlight and network live with LGBTQ business leaders, individuals, and organizations. Tonight's segment is featuring the General Manager, Craig Haas, and Director of Sales and Marketing, Yajaira Torress, from the Hyatt Centric Brickell, Miami. And we are very proud that they're here with us tonight.
Located in Miami's swanky Brickell neighborhood, the Hyatt-centric Brickell, Miami puts guests right in the thick of the city's financial and business district. But the area is far from buttoned up. LGBTQ can enjoy the hotel's rooftop pool or from any one of their 208 guest rooms, offering exceptional space both inside and out, with their oversized balconies overlooking Biscayne Bay and the Miami skyline. While inside, you'll see some of the local culture as they put on display scenic artwork from Old Havana, Cuba, to explore everything the city has to offer directly from their front doors.
And their Caña restaurant and lounge is rooted deep in Cuban culture, combining only the freshest ingredients to create flavorful Latin-inspired cuisine designed to be enjoyed, featuring freshly caught seafood, or you could opt for entrees of succulent meat and fish. In the know travelers won't settle for just any food while they're exploring a new city. They want a taste of the local cuisine. So during the month of March, Caña Restaurant and Lounge has created not one, but 3 specialty drinks served exclusively during their Thursday LGBTQ social happy hour, with the BU Margarita, Pride Punch, and Loud and Proud, and 10% of all the proceeds are donated to Pride Lines.
That's excellent. Here to tell us more, please welcome General Manager Craig Haas and Director of Sales and Marketing, Yajaira Torress, to Queer News Tonight. Good evening. We're happy both of y'all are here with us. I'm curious, as we start, of course, for the LGBTQ community, both nationally coming to South Florida and also residents here, LGBTQ community in the South Florida area, we're so familiar with the South Beach area, Miami Beach. Brickell is less known to us. Tell us about the hotel and the Centric brand and what it's designed to do in Brickell.
Certainly. Well, thank you for hosting us or allowing us to be here. We certainly appreciate it and look forward to sharing more about the property and the neighborhood. Hyatt Centric, the brand, is really a lifestyle brand. It's more of a boutique, but 200 to 400 room properties that you'll find nationwide as well as internationally. Our property is nestled in the heart of Brickell. It is a vibrant neighborhood where a lot of the locals actually live, work, and play. They bring their friends and their families to also enjoy what the neighborhood has to offer. The property itself is situated just alongside Biscayne Bay. It's a 208 room property, all balcony room hotel, and again, in the center of the action.
And Dr. Nick, I understand you live in Brickell.
I do, yeah. I walk past the Hyatt Centric every day, but I haven't been in. I didn't know there was a LGBTQ happy hour. What was the impetus for that? And can I come?
Yeah, and Caña. So definitely, I think the biggest thing for the happy hour is that we had a local community. There's a lot of people in Brickell, and being part of the LGBTQ community myself, oftentimes after work, it was trying to find that one spot that we can go to network and also get some information. And I think the biggest connection with that is that we do a lot of training with our staff around this diverse topics and trainings that we do. We have gender neutral bathrooms and things, so why not invite the community out to share these great unique things that we have and to partner with our neighborhood associates that do so much in the LGBT community. Being the chair of High Pride for the Miami region, it was a very passionate thing for me to kind of have that one spot that not only our associates can go, but also that our neighborhood and our fellow colleagues around the area can go.
You know, and that's interesting, Craig. I want to catapult the committee that you said very quickly, but lots of ears won't understand what you just said. We've reported repeatedly at Queer News Tonight the hotel industry and the major hotel brands. Hyatt is one of the major hotel brands. Many of the major hotel brands are very embracive in LGBTQ issues, our political issues, endorsements in GLAAD and the HRC, etc. I'm very curious in terms of you being general manager. For a major hotel brand, is your experience with Hyatt, is that very common? That somebody from the LGBTQ community would be basically the leadership in the hotel, the general manager. Is that common?
Absolutely. I think Hyatt itself as a culture just embraces the diversity, and they take pride in making sure that everybody is heard and everybody has an outreach and everybody has a support network from that standpoint. And even from an associate standpoint, there's a lot of training around how we can make sure not only our associates feel comfortable and they can connect with that, but also can reach out to our guests. So whether or not you're traveling, there's certain verbiage that we have that's just typical when you answer a phone that may be a little bit different in the LGBT community, and how you greet people, and how if the person's ID doesn't match what they look like in front of you, how do you respond to those circumstances? So I think Hyatt as a whole does a very good job at touching that and making sure that there is training that's centered around that.
So you have a trans training program that addresses issues like that.
Absolutely, and I think the Miami chapter specifically, and it does extend to the Fort Lauderdale properties. We did provide training to all of our associates specifically on the transgender communication, and we did the pronoun training for a wide variety of our management staff.
You know, I would be remiss. Well, first off, I've got to do a shout out for Dan Rios. Miami-Dade County's Convention and Visitors Bureau has a dedication line of emphasis on the LGBTQ community and the market because Miami-Dade County is one of the #1 or #2, depends on who you argue with your cousins in Broward County and Fort Lauderdale. It's either #1 or #2 of LGBT travel in the world. And largely driven by the 2 ports that come here for the community. So I give Dan Rios and the Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau a shout out. One of the other things that I want to mention that I think is interesting from y'all's seat is you've been through a year of pandemic. And so what's it been like for you in the hospitality industry? You're a bit different than restaurants that closed or bars that closed. You're a bigger platform, bigger business. What has the last year been like for you in COVID?
I think to start it off, and I know Yajaira will have some feedback as well from her viewpoint, but I think it's just the humble approach. I think that we were able to really connect with who we are and to be able to connect to the people around us. And I think we all, as a general manager, I was cleaning rooms, checking people in. I think we kind of took a step back from where we thought.
The general manager was doing housekeeping also.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Making food. So I apologize if you stayed with me and your room wasn't perfectly clean because I guess I haven't had as much experience. But I just think the humble approach and then kind of centering around that as well goes into the safety and cleanliness that we have. So we're very fortunate, again, going back to Hyatt's Global Biorisk Advisory Council. We're actually STAR accredited that we can really make sure that every property and every room that we give our guests is thoroughly sanitary and sanitized. So I think that there's just a really big focus on the cleanliness aspect, and I think that that also transcends into our restaurant and the experience that we provide for people there.
Are things getting better for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Travel is definitely picking up, and weddings people are getting married. They've been holding that out for quite some time, so we're definitely see the industry picking back up, and we're excited about that.
Excellent. The last thing I'm curious about is I want to focus on this Thursday event that you're sponsoring. So in your restaurant and lounge, you make a commitment to do an LGBT social gathering, social hour, basically. And it helps raise funds for Pride Lines. What motivated you to do an LGBTQ focus event for locals at the Hyatt Centric, and why Pride Lines? Why did you decide to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So the kind of the thought process behind it was, again, it goes back to my initial, as new to being Brickell about 5 years ago and new to the area, where do you go? Where do you network? Where do you have the resources if you're not too familiar with that? And you could definitely go down to South Beach. I know there's a lot of different venues down there, but where in Brickell and where in downtown is it a clean, safe place that you can go and kind of socialize with one another while having great food and also contributing to your local neighborhood partners? The reason why specifically we partner with Pride Lines is they do a lot of great things in the community. One of the big things that kind of drawn me to this partnership is that they reach out to the LGBTQ homeless youth or at-risk youth. And I think that is an area that is so much more up and coming in terms of what we can do for them. And I think that was one of the reasons why we donate to this organization as a whole, because they do such great work already in the community, and we want to help support them, especially now more than ever with people losing jobs and what we're kind of coming out of right now.
Excellent, excellent. I constantly say we have gone through the last year where the people that have taken it on the chin the most is our LGBTQ 501c3 charities and nonprofit organizations. And when an organization like Hyatt and the Hyatt Centric Hotel at Brickell step up and say, wait, we're going to help, that's putting your money and your effort and your time where your mouth is. And we greatly appreciate that in the LGBTQ community. And by the way, I'm going to check in. You do this every Thursday?
That's right.
Yeah. And so I'm going to check in. Your neighbor, Dr. Nick, apparently has not been into the Hyatt Centric. and apparently is not supporting Pride lines in the way that we would like him to. So I'm going to check back in to make sure that Dr. Nick has come to the event next Thursday.
I will be your reporter in the field, Al.
Yes, exactly.
Nick, we welcome you and both doctors, actually. So come on by.
Dr. Nick, I'll meet you for a cocktail.
Wait,
sounds fun.
the anchor's not welcome? The two
Anchors,
doctors?
no, everyone. Everyone, please come. I
Well-
do want to just highlight that Kanya Restaurant and Lounge is located on the second floor of the Hyatt Centrel Brickell Miami Hotel.
Yes.
We don't want you to get lost.
And,
because we want you to have fun.
and Craig, that is the sign of a good director of sales. Plug,
there you
plug, plug.
Absolutely.
We love it. Thank you for being with us and bringing this to our attention. The expanding LGBTQ opportunities to help our community and our businesses that support the LGBTQ community is newsworthy, and one of the reasons why we are thrilled that you're with us on NetWerQ Thursday here at Queer News Tonight. So thank you both for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
There you have it. That's today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. Is our community important to you?
If it is, then help us by liking and subscribing this channel, ring the bell for updates, and share our news. We are the only LGBTQ television live video news in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. And we need your support.
And I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson. And on behalf of anchors dueling Dr. Ty and dueling Dr. Nick, we will see you daily and every night at 7 p.m. Good night.